Somewhere along your awakening, you didn't lose motivation. You lost the version of you that used fear as fuel. You finally saw through the noise, the chasing, the endless proving. You saw how much of your life was driven by pressure, by validation, by the need to become someone. And everyone told you, this is freedom. But no one told you it would feel this empty. Now you wake up with no fire, no urgency, no direction. You're not sad. You're not excited. You're just numb. And the question keeps getting louder. Why do I feel disconnected now that I finally understand everything? If that question lives inside you, this video is for you. For some people, it happens after a breakdown. For others, after a deep spiritual realization, a moment where something inside you cracks open. You see the illusion, the patterns, the fake urgency of the world. You realize how much of life is people running in circles, chasing approval, money, titles, identity. And for the first time, you step back. There's silence. At first, it feels powerful, like relief, like finally stepping out of a race. You never consciously chose to run. But then, slowly, quietly, that sense of meaning starts fading. Not overnight, not dramatically. It's subtle. Like life turned the volume down and forgot to turn it back up. You still show up. You still function. But the spark that used to push you is gone. You don't feel reckless. You don't feel depressed in the usual sense. You just don't care the way you used to. The goals that once drove you feel strangely hollow. The things people get excited about don't move you anymore. And that scares you. Because society has taught you one thing. If you're not motivated, something is wrong with you. So you start questioning yourself. Am I lazy? Am I broken? Did awakening ruin me? Here's the truth most people never hear. For many deep thinkers, awakening doesn't add energy. It removes false fuel. Awakening is sold as clarity, as light, as purpose. But for many, especially introspective minds, it empties you before it fills you. You stop chasing success. You stop craving validation. You stop playing the game. And suddenly, nothing pulls you forward. I once spoke to someone incredibly bright, emotionally aware, spiritually curious. She went through a deep inner collapse. And then something shifted. She saw through identity, through ego, through the endless need to become more. She said, I finally get it. 2 months later, she could barely get out of bed. She told me, I used to cry because I wasn't doing enough. Now I don't even care if I do anything at all. I thought awakening would light me up, not leave me like this. That moment right there, that wasn't failure. That was post-awakening fog, long before awakening became a trend. Psychology already understood this phase. One of the deepest explorers of the human mind warned that real awakening doesn't come from chasing light. It comes from becoming conscious of what we've avoided inside. And that's where people get confused. Because awakening isn't the end. It's a psychological death. The death of who you thought you were. Your old ambitions. Your old definitions of success. Your old identity. They collapse. Not because they were wrong, but because they were built for a version of you that no longer exists. And here's the part no one prepares you for. Your ego doesn't disappear. It becomes disoriented. It loses its internal compass. And without that compass, motivation fades. So let this land clearly. You're not lazy. You are not failing. You are not behind in life. You are in between. You've woken up from an old way of living, but you haven't yet learned how to live from what's deeper. This phase doesn't look impressive. It doesn't produce results. It doesn't give clear answers. But it's necessary because the old map no longer works and the new one hasn't formed yet. In a world obsessed with output, this pause gets judged, and judgment turns confusion into shame. But shame blocks growth. There's a phase after awakening that almost no one talks about, a phase where your inner world swings. From constant striving to deep stillness, you go from, I must do everything, to, why do anything at all? This isn't collapse, it's recalibration. In ancient stories, this was the hermit phase, the pause before rebirth, like a caterpillar dissolving inside the cocoon. Not a butterfly yet, not what it was before, just transformation in progress. And transformation doesn't rush. This is the moment where many people turn back. They mistake silence for failure, stillness for stagnation, the void for emptiness. So they rush. They force goals. They recreate ambition. They go back to chasing things that no longer fit who they are. And every time they do, something inside them resists. Not because they're weak, but because their soul has outgrown the old direction. This resistance isn't sabotage. It's intelligence. Your system refuses to move until movement comes from truth. This is where patience becomes power. This is where modern spirituality often gets it wrong. It teaches positivity without depth, light without shadow, healing without honesty. But real growth doesn't happen by skipping darkness. It happens by integrating it. This numbness you feel isn't emptiness. It's your system slowing everything down, so buried emotions can finally surface. Grief, anger, unspoken truths, parts of you that never felt safe to exist. This isn't regression. This is reconstruction. Your psyche is doing deep work behind the scenes. And here's the shift most people miss. When you stop fighting this pause, something begins to return. Motivation, but it feels different now. It's quieter, slower, cleaner, not driven by fear, not fueled by comparison. It feels like remembering, not chasing, not the old version of you, trying to prove something, but a deeper center inside you, beginning to lead. This is soul-led movement. This is where life changes. You stop hustling. You start responding. You're no longer driven by approval or pressure. You're guided by resonance. You create even when no one's watching. You say no to what looks good but feels wrong. You choose peace over performance. This is the new fuel, not adrenaline, alignment. So instead of asking, what should I do with my life? Ask, what's quietly calling me? Instead of, what's the plan? Ask, where is life nudging me? Instead of, how do I prove myself? Ask, what feels honest? Ambition doesn't disappear. It transforms from ego to devotion. If your spark faded after awakening, it didn't die. The old fire burned down, so you can find a deeper flame, one that doesn't flicker when the world stops applauding. This isn't the end of your awakening. It's the beginning of your becoming. This is Inspivox, and you're watching Inspivox Studio. Fuel your mind, build your future.